Hi everyone and welcome back to another video of this course. In this video I'm going to show you how you can create an account on Figma in order to use that for our projects. As I mentioned before, Figma is free to use. However, if you want to create more than 3 projects, you need to get the professional account, which is not necessary for this course. But the good news is, if you are a student and you are enrolled in a university or a school, you could always create a Figma account for a student and verify your student status and use it for free. That is fantastic. But if you are not a student, there is no problem. You can still use all the features of Figma with the free account, and you can still create unlimited pages and files. So how can you create an account? It's so simple. If you open up the Figma website, which is figma.com, you can click on sign up, and here you could choose whether you want to sign up with Google account or with your email address and setting a new password to your account. It's totally up to you. You can also log into your account with your Google account or with your email and password that you set. So let me log in with my Google account. There we go. And as you can see, whenever you create an account, you have already some projects here, which is called Figma Basics, Prototyping in Figma, and Wireframing in Figma. And if I open up this one, you could see some simple tutorials and some basics about Figma and how you could use that. You don't need to worry about it because we are going to cover all aspects of Figma in the next series of videos. Alright, as you can see on your left, you have some menus. The first one is your account or your profile. If you click on that, you can see it's your name. You can change your profile image, and here there are some options, personal access tokens, and we don't need to use that for now. And if you want to delete your account, you can use this option. The next option is search. You can search through your projects and your files. Then you have recent, which shows you the recent projects and files that you have opened. And then we have plugins, which gives you the option of installing some plugins, which is so important, and we will talk about it later. And then we have drafts. You can create some drafts, and also you have deleted files, okay? You can also create a new team over there if you want to work in a team, and also you could import your sketch file. It's amazing. And Figma automatically converts your sketch file to Figma file, and you could use it perfectly. Right now we are using Figma on our browser. However, as I mentioned before, you could always install Figma on your system. So how can you do that? It's so simple. If you go ahead to figma.com/downloads, or if I go ahead and log out, here is the landing page, and you can see the resources. And if you hover on this link, you could see the downloads link over there. I'm going to click on that. And here we have the Figma downloads, which lets us download some resources. The first one is desktop app. And here you could find desktop app for macOS or desktop app for Windows. So depending on your operating system, you could download it and install it. Okay. Then we have Live Device Preview. It's a great application. You could download it from App Store or Google Play, and then you could preview your design instantly. And last but not least, we have font installers. What's that? When you're using Figma on your browser, Figma cannot get access to your local fonts, which is not good because most of the time you need to use your local fonts. So in order to fix that problem, you could download the font installer for Windows or macOS, then you could install it. And after that, you can get access to your local fonts on your browser, which is pretty awesome. Although you could get access to your local fonts by installing this font installer, I highly recommend that you use the desktop version of Figma because it really accelerates your design process. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and in the next video, I'm going to talk about the environment of Figma and how you could use it simply. Talking about the shapes, okay? The shape tool is one of the most important tools when you're designing a user interface, because no matter what kind of interface you are designing, for sure you will need to use one of these shapes, okay? So right at the top in the toolbar, you can find the shapes. And if you click on that, you can see that there are different shapes here. For instance, we have the rectangle, okay? And if I select that, I can easily create this shape by dragging and dropping. As you can see, we have created a rectangle and it's called rectangle 1. Each shape has some properties. For instance, this shape has the corner radius property, and as you can see, it's indicated with these dots. So if I just click on one of them and drag the mouse a little bit like this, I can set the corner radius to 30. Alternatively, you can change the amount of corner radius right in the inspector over there. For example, I can set it to 50 like this. And if you want to change the corner radius for only one of those points or edges, you can hold Option key and then drag and drop like this. And as you can see, now we have different amount of corner radius for each point like this. As a matter of fact, you can customize your corner radius like this. If you just click on independent corners on this icon, you can see there is corner smoothing. And I'm gonna click on that, and here we have a slider, and I'm gonna set it to 60%. And as you can see here, it's written iOS. So what does that mean? Actually, in iOS, Apple uses smooth corners, okay? And if you're familiar with Sketch, we use the same term as well. So as you can see, it makes our corners much smoother, okay? Of course, you can increase it. However, 60% makes it look great. Perfect. All right. Of course, you can change the color of your shape as we have discussed in the previous video. However, we will cover all those features in the next series of videos. But for now, let's stick to the shapes. The next shape is called line, okay? It's just kind of a stroke. And if I hold Shift and 2, you can see that Figma brings this shape to me automatically in a way that I can see it clearly, okay? So I'm gonna click on that, and here on stroke, you have different properties as well. For instance, you can change the thickness of this line, or let's say this stroke like this. Let me set it to 10. And if you click on these dots, you can see that we have different options here. It's called advanced stroke, and we have cap and join. So what does that mean? Let's take a look at it. Let me open up this menu, and here we have different options. We have round, that will make our line rounded for both sides. We have square, which doesn't make sense because it's kind of the same. We have line arrow like this, and we have triangle arrow like this. And if I choose, for instance, line arrow, and I decide to modify this shape by double clicking on this shape, and for instance, moving this point, you can see that it will change automatically. Pretty good. And we will cover joins in the future lessons. All right, now let's talk about the next shape. Let me click on done to finish editing. The next shape is an arrow, okay? Like this. It's again kind of a line, or let's say just stroke that we just created. However, you could create an arrow like this as well. As you can see, you have different types: round, square, line arrow, and triangle arrow. And the first one by default was mixed, okay? Because we had a customized line, okay? And the next shape is the circle. So I'm gonna hold Shift in order to keep the aspect ratio like this, and I'm gonna drag and drop to create this circle. Pretty good. And this circle has a new property which is called arc. So let's click on that and try to move a little bit to see what you can achieve by modifying this property like this. That's pretty awesome, and especially it's so useful when you're creating a chart. Awesome. And the next shape is called polygon, okay? I'm gonna create one. Let's remove this shape for now. I'm gonna make it larger. Pretty good. The polygon shape has two different properties. The first one is corner radius, and it works like rectangles, okay? And the second one is called count, which means the number of edges that we are using or we are creating. So let me increase it by holding Shift and clicking on that like this. I'm gonna move my mouse up and down. You can also modify it in the inspector. Let's set it to 8. Pretty good. And I can also modify the radius, obviously, here. Fantastic. Let me remove that, and I'm gonna create the star once again here. Pretty good. The star shape has 3 different properties. The first one is corner radius, again, like this. The second one is the ratio, which is the ratio between these 2 edges, like this. You can modify that. I'm gonna set it to 40. And the last one is count, okay? That you can increase and decrease as you wish. Pretty awesome. And last but not least is the place image, that you can choose an image from your system. And if you drag and drop like this, and make sure to hold the Shift key on your keyboard in order to keep the ratio, you can place an image, okay? And you can also change the radius as well. It's so simple. All right, so now let's talk about the dimension property right over there. So here, as you can see, you have different properties like X and Y, which refers to the position of this shape. So if I set 0 and 0 for Y, as you can see, it moves to the left and top corner because the 0 and 0 points starts from top and left corner, okay? And now you can modify the width and height. For instance, you can set it to 300. However, as you can see, the width and height are linked. So if you want to change them separately, you can easily unlink them by clicking on this icon, which is called Constrain Proportions. And then I can modify the width or height separately, like this. All right, like in Sketch, you can do mathematical operations here. For instance, I can divide 300 by 2 like this, and there we go, we have 150. Or I can multiply 180 by 2. It's a great and useful feature when you're designing your user interface. And we have the alignments over there right at the top. For instance, if I choose this object or this shape, I can align it to the center horizontally. I can align it to the left side, align it to the right side, align it to the top, align it vertically, and align it to the bottom, okay? All right, but what if you want to align an object which is placed inside another object? So suppose that we are going to put this object, okay, here. I'm gonna change the color to something like dark gray, like this. I'm gonna make it smaller a little bit. Suppose that we are going to align this shape with our rectangle, okay, which looks like a square right now. But how can we do that? First of all, you need to make sure that you chose both objects at the same time. You can hold Shift key on your keyboard and select them, or you can select them like this with dragging and dropping, okay? Then you will click on Align Horizontal to the center and Align Vertical to the center. And it's done. Pretty awesome. Alright guys, so now in this video, we have learned how to use shapes and you know the properties of each specific shape. Alright, and here, as you can see, we can divide the Figma's environment into 4 different sections. The toolbar, which is right at the top, and it consists of all the necessary tools that you need for designing a world-class user interface. As you can see here, you have a menu, and here you have some sub-menus such as File, Edit, View, Object, Vector, Text, Arrange, etc. We will cover all of those options during this course. Here you have some tools such as Move Tools, Scale, and also the Frame tool, the Frame and Slice tool. Then you have the Objects or Shapes tool, and also the Pen tool. Then we have the Text and Comments. Right on your left, we have the Layers pane that lists all of your layers and also all of your assets respectively. As you can see, there is no component here yet because we didn't create any components so far. However, in the future lessons, you will learn how to use these sections as well. Then on your right, we have the inspector, which consists of 3 different parts. As you can see, we have design, prototype, and code, okay? So if I click on A on my keyboard, I can create an artboard for starting my design process. For instance, I can choose phone, and here I'm gonna choose iPhone 11 Pro or X. As you can see, you have the dimension right over there. I'm gonna click on that, and here you have your artboard, and you can see the name on the layers list. And if you double click on that, you can change it to whatever you want. For instance, let's say home, pretty good. And I can easily choose the rectangle shape, and there we go. We have another layer right under this artboard, okay? And here on your right side in the inspector section, you have different options. For instance, in the design section, you have alignments, you have the dimension, and also the location, the positioning of your shape. You have also the constraint section, and we will dive into each section separately in the next series of videos. So don't worry if you don't understand what the constraints are or basically what they do. For example, here we have layer, and you can adjust the opacity of your layer and its mode. And here you have fill for changing the color. As you can see, we have stroke, we have effects for adding some shadows, and then we have the export. For prototyping, you can go to prototype section, and here we have different options as well that we will cover in the prototyping section of this course. You have also the code section, and it's so useful if you are a developer or you want to hand over the properties of your design to your web developer or even your application developer, because you can easily export your properties in code. For example, for iOS, we have variable and different properties. That's pretty cool. And last but not least, the 4th section is the canvas, which is in the middle of Figma. And here you will place all your designs and all your artboards. You have also the share option right over there that you can share your file or components with your team members, or even you can send it to your client for reviewing the project, etc. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Your shapes. Okay, so first of all, I'm gonna press A, and as you can see now, I can choose my artboard. Let's open up the desktop menu, and here I'm gonna choose MacBook Pro. For this video, it doesn't matter, but I have enough space to show you how you can edit your shapes. Then what I'm going to do is creating a new rectangle here. I'm gonna hold Shift and drag and drop like this. Then let's increase the corner radius. And by the way, if you hold Shift key on your keyboard, you can increase or decrease the corner radius by 10 units, okay, like this. Pretty good. Then I'm gonna fill it with another color. So let's look for a very beautiful blue. I think it's great. And then I'm gonna create another rectangle here. So let's hold Shift again, and I'm gonna show you a very great technique to choose your colors properly. Okay, so if you're not sure that how you could match a good color with this blue that creates a great contrast between them, you can first choose the same color like this, and then if you just move this circle to the darker side of this color palette like this, you can easily choose a perfect match with your background color, which is amazing, isn't it? So now, how can we edit our shape? In order to edit any shape, first we need to enter to the edit mode. So to do that, you can double click on that shape, and there we go. Now we are in edit mode, okay? And as you can see, we have 4 different nodes here, or let's say points, that we can start editing our shape with. So if I click on this circle and try to move it a little bit, you can see that I can easily edit this shape as I wish, like this, okay? I can even increase the radius of this corner in the inspector, something like this. You can also add more nodes on your path, okay? Like this. For example, here I can click once, and there we go. I just created a new node. and I can edit it in another way like this. Okay, so let me come back to the first state of this rectangle, or let's say square, like this. So now suppose that you want to create something like a curve. Okay, in that case you can use the bend tool, which is here. You can click on that and choose one of those nodes. Then you can see that a handle controller appears, and with this handle controller you can easily adjust your curve like this. It's awesome, isn't it? And the shortcut of bend tool is holding command on your keyboard. There we go. You can easily adjust your curve in order to meet your expectations. Pretty awesome. After editing your shape, you need to remember to close your editing mode. To do that, you can click on done like this. So right now we are out of editing mode. But isn't it better to create a real icon in order to show you how you could use the powerful editing mode? Let's do that. So first of all, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit like this. Then I'm gonna enter to edit mode. So let's double click. And after that, I'm gonna create a new node right here. Okay, so I'm gonna click on that. Then I'm gonna drag it down by holding shift like this. Pretty good. And the next thing I'm gonna do is selecting all nodes by holding Command A or Control A in Windows. Then I'm gonna increase the corner radius. Okay, so let's increase it to 6 maybe. That's pretty good. And now I'm gonna make it a little bit taller, and the last thing I'm gonna do is rotating this icon. So in order to rotate anything in Figma, you can hover your mouse just outside your shape, and you can see that the rotation indicator or icon appears immediately. Then I'm gonna hold shift and I'm gonna rotate it by 180 degrees. As you can see, you have the amount here, and there we go. What does it look like? You're right, it's like a bookmark. Okay, so can you see how amazing and powerful this editing tool is? So I'm gonna make some changes in order to make it better. Let me double click on the shape, and I'm gonna select these two top nodes and then increase the corner radius to 26 maybe. Pretty awesome. All right, let me select both layers and I'm gonna group them by Command G or Control G in Windows, and I'm gonna name it bookmark. Pretty awesome. So what else can we do? Let's go ahead and create a polygon here. I'm gonna set the color to the same blue as our bookmark icon, and let's copy and paste this background as our frame. So I'm gonna hold Command key or Control key in Windows and click on this rectangle or square and copy it by Command C, and I'm gonna paste it. However, remember to move this layer outside this bookmark group. I'm gonna move it a little bit like this. Pretty awesome. Now let's double click on this triangle, and here I'm gonna create another node right at the bottom like this, and let me drag it a little bit. There we go. We have our GPS marker. That's pretty cool, isn't it? Let me make it smaller. Fantastic. Okay, let me group it. Now I'm gonna write marker. Pretty awesome. Let me enlarge this artboard a little bit. Then I'm gonna show you how you can use the pen tool. So suppose that you want to create, for instance, an arrow, okay, a curved arrow. How can you do that? It's so simple. Let's start with adding a node. Then you need another node like this, and the last one here. That's all. First of all, I'm going to increase the stroke thickness to 4 maybe. Then I'm gonna rotate it a little bit. And if I click on these dots, I can change the cap mode to line arrow like this. It's pretty cool. I can even edit it like this. So can you see how easy it is to create new shapes and edit them? Pretty awesome. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and in the next series of videos we will practice using these tools by creating real world projects. So don't worry if you do not understand all the details. I will make sure to explain everything in detail. So I will see you in the next video.